What do a rattlesnake, a detour, and a skincare routine have in common? Welcome to Sustainable in the Suburbs, a podcast for the eco-curious who want to live a greener life and are looking for a place to start. I'm your host, Sarah Robertson Barnes, a soccer mom with a station wagon and a passion for sustainable living. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips and honest conversations to help you waste less, save money, and make small, doable shifts that actually fit your real life. Because sustainable living doesn't have to be perfect to matter, and you don't have to do it all to make a difference. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Sustainable in the Suburbs, the podcast where we start where we are, use what we have, and live a little greener, one small shift at a time. Let me ask you this. Have you ever really thought about what's in your lotion and face wash and lip balm and deodorant, everything sitting on your bathroom shelf? Most of us use multiple personal care products before we even leave the house in the morning. They all end up on our skin, which, by the way, is our body's largest organ. And yet, so many of these products are packaged in plastic and filled with ingredients we don't know what they are, let alone can trace back to a real source. At the same time, women who make up the majority of household purchasing decisions and often leading the charge on sustainability in their homes and communities are being marketed products that don't always serve their health, their values, or the planet. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to Rebecca Ogilvie. She's the founder of The Detour Co., a woman-owned Canadian skincare brand rooted in the Muskoka region of Ontario. Her ethos, from the land, not the lab, is more than a tagline. It's also a way of doing business that's grounded in sustainability, motherhood, and a deep connection to nature. In this conversation, we talked about what led Rebecca to create her own skincare formulations, how moving to Muskoka reshaped her life and her work, and how skincare can be a surprisingly powerful act of caring for yourself and the planet. So whether you're on the hunt for more planet-friendly products or you're just curious about what a sustainable skincare routine actually looks like, this episode will leave you inspired to rethink what's in your cabinet and maybe even reconnect with your own daily rituals. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today to talk to us. I could not be more excited. I've met you a couple of times in real life, just through like various women's connection sort of things. And I just feel like we vibe. So
totally. I feel the same way. Honestly, I feel like you have this like elusive presence. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with you for the hour, because anytime we have connected, it's been these like bits and pieces. And I'm also jazzed to have a full-blown conversation with you about stuff that we both love.
And we'll record it so everyone can know. Yes, I love that. Okay, so tell us about yourself then and sort of what you do and your personal journey to starting The Detour Co.
Of course. Well, I'm Rebecca, founder of The Detour Co. And The Detour Co. is a truly natural skincare brand that focuses on earth-grown ingredients from the land, not the lab. I had been making my own products for a very long time, just playfully in my kitchen for me and my family. And then, a series of events and things in life, I ended up moving to Muskoka and I went looking for awesome skincare. I had an infant and a 3-year-old and I didn't feel like I had the time to make something. So I just wanted to buy it, but I couldn't find anything that met those standards of not being watered down, really focusing on actual ingredients that came from the earth. And so my husband was like, why don't you try to make sell what you have been making? And I did. And that was 3 years ago. And it's all really blossomed into something so much bigger and more beautiful than I even knew at the time.
I'm just nodding along like, yes, I love that so much. Part of my transition or flowering, I suppose, was also having my 2 kids, my 2 under 2, and just sort of trial by fire. And this is what we're doing now. It really distills what's important to you and what you want the world to look like. So where were you before you were in Muskoka and what was that transition like?
So I grew up in London, Ontario, and that's where we were previously. My kind of past life experience, I worked at an investment firm for 8 years. I traveled around the world twice. I had like an 8-month trip and a 14-month trip. I dabbled in wellness. So I worked for a chiropractor while I was teaching yoga, doing Reiki and meditation. And through the pandemic, I had an online community called the New Moon Nidra Club, where I hosted a lot of meditations and did some energy work. And all of it kind of came to a close around the time that I had my daughter. And that was intentional. It just felt like I really want to focus on bringing this next child into the world, and we'll see where life takes us after that. And she was like not even a month old when we found this place to move to Muskoka. We had been looking to get out of the city for a few years, and it just was like, it was just the moment we had been waiting for. It was like, okay, our family is here. We are done having children. We are ready to move to the trees. Let's go.
I feel this deep in my bones. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's your relationship like then with the land that you're on now and your local community?
I moved here for the trees. It was definitely what I wanted to come, was just be closer to the trees, the bark, the leaves, the soil. But it's been the lakes that really surprised me and have like captured my heart almost. I love that every single day I get to drive past a body of water, whether it's a lake or a river or a stream. And honestly, I feel like whenever I'm a little bit lost in life, I just go sit by the water and I get whatever answers I need.
Mm-hmm. I'm a cold plunger. And so when I'm in the lake, I feel very held by the earth. It's about as like woo as I get, but I deeply, deeply feel it, and that the earth loves us and we should love her back.
100%. Yeah.
And I mean, even though where you live now, it's not like a typical suburb. I live in the GTA. And so I just love hearing about how people's surroundings influence your habits and your values and the way that you live day to day. So
yeah, I do feel very connected. Like it's really interesting living here and seeing the impact that we humans can have on nature, on the hiking trails and the lakes, and the ways that people can either choose to be respectful or disrespectful of the land.
Yeah. And I mean, like you use the phrase "from the land, not the lab" to describe your work. And like, what does that mean to you? How does that come through in how you source your ingredients or make decisions for your business?
Well, there's a lot of ingredients out there that are, I like to call them inspired by nature. It's like somebody took a look at the aloe plant and then wanted to patent it. So they recreated that in a laboratory setting and sell it. It's, I call it inspired by nature. I actually don't know what the proper scientific terms of all that process would be. But I really want to focus on ingredients that truly come from the land. The shea butter that grew in the soil, or the chamomile that grew in the soil, the jojoba oil that grew out of the soil. I feel that connection to nature is really important for us to stay grounded, and not just about connecting to nature, but connecting to ourselves. I mean, we're all pieces of this thing, this big round ball that we're floating around on in who knows how much space. It's the further we get from our connection to nature, the further we get from ourselves. And sort of the underlying tone of my brand is to really help people know who they are, what they want, and create a lovable life from there, instead of this monotonous kind of robotic checklist that some of us can get onto. I think that kind of touches on the answer.
Yeah. And you hit on something I wanted to ask you later, but we'll talk about it now, which is you just said, the further we get from nature, the farther we get away from ourselves. Mm-hmm. But part of what I love about your brand and how you present your brand is as ritual. Mm-hmm. And slowing down and self-care. And the more that we can connect with ourselves, then in turn we can connect back with nature.
Yeah.
So there's that reciprocity angle to it as well.
There is. And that is a lived experience of mine. I know that when I sit in the forest and I see this tree that grew so imperfectly, or this moss that's growing out of seemingly nothing on a rock, all the imperfections in nature, the shocking scenarios in which things grow when you don't expect them to, I find so much to learn from that. And when I see that in nature, it really helps me accept the parts of myself that I have a hard time seeing and loving. So that's my connection with nature, is going out and letting the lake or the forest show me the things that I need to see so that I can see and love myself. And when I can see and love myself, I am so much more compassionate of others, because there isn't that like projection. I think we often come in contact with people and you can tell that person is frustrated with themselves, but they're being mean to the server at Tim Hortons or whatever. And so by me spending time in nature, I like myself a lot more, and in turn appreciate people a lot more, because I know we're all going through things as humans and as trees or whatever living things we're talking about.
And together, literally, I think that's a huge piece of what's missing from climate action, for example. And it's something that we talk about a lot on this show, is not just connection to nature, but connection to each other and community and caring for each other.
Yeah.
And something as like, quote, simple as what you're putting on your face actually does radiate out into all of those other connections as well. That self-care is planetary care.
100%. Yeah. Community is everything. And yeah. That's just it. Like, it really is. I mean, especially as a mom, creating my village and finding the people that could really support me, stand beside me. It's been so important. We're not meant to do this life alone. Yeah.
No, I'm nodding along and trying not to get a bit teary, but it is something that's very difficult to put into words, the feeling of sitting in the forest and having it come back to yourself without trying. And, you know, my kids will say like, oh, touch grass, but actually,
yes,
there's a lot of wisdom in that. And
there
part
is.
of what, that's, so now that I've started, I watch your videos and I'm like, you know what? I am going to do this. I am going to take this 15 minutes for myself. And it has made a world of difference. So I thank you for that.
I'm so glad you're doing that. Yes, we need to spend time with ourselves so that we can care for ourselves. And maybe in turn we care for others. But caring for ourselves should be the most important thing.
So that leads into the next thing that I was going to ask you is like, what role does nature play in your work today? Whether it's, so we talked a little bit about ingredients, but what about packaging?
Yes. I'm glad you brought this up, because I have such mixed emotions around packaging.
Same.
It all comes from China. Even if I'm sourcing from a Canadian supplier, so much of the glass jars or the metal lids, even if I'm prioritizing packaging that is recyclable, it's not sustainable based on like how it's made, where it comes from, the distance it takes to get here, and all of that process from there to here. So I have such mixed emotions around packaging. I find it's actually the hardest thing to feel like I'm getting right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to choose the best worst option. Yeah. So when I first went, quote, zero waste, I was like, no plastic ever. And then I went to a presentation put on by the Eco Well, and she was talking about small women-owned businesses who are making, whether it was skincare or cosmetics or what have you, from really good locally sourced ingredients or as close to, hand making their products, but folks like me wouldn't touch it because it's in plastic. And that caused like a seismic shift in how I was looking at packaging. It was just plastic bad, everything else good. But then you start looking at, like you said, like, well, what is the extraction process for taking stainless steel or aluminum out of the earth? And what is the energy process that's going into glass? Not just to make it, but also to recycle it. It's a huge energy input output. Then to ship it halfway across the world and repackage it and all of that sort of thing. So is it reusable? Yes. Is it recyclable? Maybe. Is it lightweight? Maybe not. Like, there's all these different things that you have to juggle, and we haven't even talked about cost.
No, well, and this is the other illusion that I would love to just remove the blindfold or whatever. I put my my products in glass, but they all come to me in plastic. So I can package it up in glass, and I'm very lucky. It's like I make and I sell. Most things are not in my warehouse for more than a month, and it might take somebody 3 or 6 months to use it. And so it's only in that glass jar for a certain amount of time, but it may have been sitting in that plastic jug for just as much time, a year or two. One of my suppliers that I love, it's called New Directions. And they every month they send these very cool market updates on like the growing conditions of the products and so they kind of let us know down the line, okay, this ingredient or this material is going to cost more next year because there was a drought or whatever. There's a big conversation around the growing conditions and how that impacts the cost of the material for me. Mm-hmm. But it always will come to me in plastic. I'm trying to think, sometimes aluminum or glass, like for essential oils. But all of the oils, like the organic cold pressed oils that I have, they all come to me in plastic jugs. And so by me packaging it in glass and people feeling good about it's a little bit of an illusion.
Yeah, the behind the curtain of what's actually happening. And I'm glad that we're talking about this because it's drilling down into it, right? So it's, okay, well, I'm really interested in skincare. So I want to find, you have your checklist, and then you open that door and you find there's 3 more doors behind it. Mm-hmm. And we can't open every single door on every single topic in our lives, but it's just figuring out what about this? Now what about this? Just digging down into the root of it all and tracing it becomes very difficult. And that's also part of the larger climate action conversation as well. What can we do that's less harmful, but what does that mean? So for the supplier, I mean, the plastic is less expensive and it is also lighter weight. So the shipping is less expensive. How much of the plastic is leaching into the product? I don't know. On the other hand,
research is out on that one. Depends on which study you're looking at.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I think, well, okay, it's packaged in a way that appeals to me, so I'm going to buy it. And now I'm sort of in the zone of like, well, what else can I do? Mm-hmm. What's the next eco-friendly thing that I can do? So I'm also really ambivalent about it, about what things are packaged in and whether it's reusable and what's, again, like I said, like what's the best worst option. And there unfortunately just isn't a right answer. But I think the key factor here is you try.
Yeah.
You try, you care and you try. And that's the vibe. Like, do your best. That's what we do here.
Yes. Thank you for that reassurance. It's a huge conundrum. And as a small business, I solely hand make every product. And I get asked a lot about refills or jar returns. And up to this point, it's been kind of beyond my capacity to take on those extra tasks. But as the brand grows, I don't know where life can take us. There is one refillery that sells some of our products. And when I have people into my studio, I do refills. So it's stuff that's on the horizon. And I think like so many of us and what you've learned on your journey is just like when we know better, we can do better. Or if there's a change we want to make, but we can't make it now, maybe we can make that change down the line.
Yeah, I know jar take back is a huge thing because there's safety considerations and standards and you need an industrial dishwasher and all that sort of thing. But I think I sent you a message with 900 exclamation marks about offering refill on your studio days because I think that is something that's really, it's fun for people and it's accessible and they can bring whatever container. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about how refills work on your studio days?
So I only offer refills on a few things, but some of the more popular items, so like the face cream or the face toner, even magnesium spray or the deodorant, all of those are like the end result is malleable enough essentially for like the face cream or the deodorant that I can scoop it and fill the new jar. And then it's the body butter that I can't. The body butter is a different consistency when I fill the jars than when it ends up, the state that it settles into is a little bit more solid, and to scoop it could potentially just like modify the texture a little bit. So I'd say the body butter is the one I'm not sure I'll ever figure out how to refill unless I make a fresh batch that day and fill jars to the people who arrive on that afternoon or whatever. But yeah, so the face cream, I can scoop. The deodorant, I can scoop. The toner, I can pour. The magnesium spray, I can pour. Those are all things that I can do on a refill basis out of my studio.
You hit on something interesting there, which was if you wanted to do refills on the body butter, you would have to make it that day and then pour it into people's containers. But then it also has to sit, right?
Yeah.
So that's not sustainable for you.
Exactly.
Energetically and temporally. So again, like sustainability still has to be sustainable for you as a person with only so much time and so much energy. So it is that balance. So I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. Yeah. So sort of along those lines, what has been, this is a 2-part question. So what's been surprisingly difficult and unexpectedly joyful about running a value-driven business?
I feel like there's been so much more joy than difficulty. I've just been like so overwhelmed in the best way with the support that I've received for this business. The people that I get to talk to every single day is the best part. The amount of times somebody says like, I thought nothing was going to work for me and this does, or I've never loved my skin more than I do now. These are like, I did not know that was going to happen when I started selling body butter.
It's so good. You guys, the body butter is made of unicorn tears and magic. I really can't stress this enough. I'm going to link it in the show notes because it is the best thing I've ever used.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So there has been an abundance of joy for sure. I feel like it's just been like unexpected joy after unexpected joy. I would say at the beginning, the hardest time was juggling starting a business while having 2 children at home. It's in the past, so it's kind of behind me. But if I think back to that version of myself, she was having a real tough time, definitely. And now I'm facing the element of growth. And like I said, my favorite thing is the touch point I get to have with each person. And I'm figuring out how to hold on to that as the business grows and kind of feels bigger than me. Navigating that is really tricky right now.
So what are some things that are keeping you grounded these days?
Oh, well, am I grounded? I don't know about that. I have to thank my children. My children I would be a workaholic. I would work every minute of every day to build this brand and hustle it all the way to the top if I didn't have children. But I have children, and at 3:00, I pick up my son and we do something together. We go on a donut date, or we go for a hike, or today we'll go to the beach. They help me slow down. And since they love nature, it supports us all in like the best way. So being with my kids outside is probably the most grounding thing for me.
You posted something the other day about how you were refilling something. I'm obsessed with refills. You were refilling something and said like, I know I can hire someone to do this, but I am intentionally slowing down. So I know we touched on this a bit earlier, but how do you see, especially for women, like we're out here, we're wearing every single hat. We are seen as, we are the caregivers. We're carrying all the mental load. We're doing all of these things. And I'll be honest that probably 95% of my audience, according to my metrics on all the platforms or whatever, is women or women identifying folks. And how do we... You talk about skincare as a form of self-respect, which I really appreciate. And I get it. But could you explain a bit more what you mean by that?
I speak to that because, it was my experience. Like I started a face care routine at like the lowest time in my life. I had no sense of self. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted. I was just doing things and mostly doing things for other people. And somehow this little light bulb happened and said, like, find something that's just for you. And so I chose face care. And I knew every morning I would get up, I would wash and moisturize my face. And at the end of the day, no matter how hard it had been or how gross I felt, I knew I had done something for me. And I'm also really into habit stacking. So once I had established that routine of taking time for me and noticing how it really sparked like a confidence within me, it was like, I can do this just for me. What else can I do just for me? So I feel like the whole life that I have today was born in those moments of simply washing my face. That was how I came back to me and celebrated myself every day and showed myself that I matter. And that was where the like self-respect component came in. Mm-hmm. It was a non-negotiable, I guess you could say, is I'm going to do this for me no matter what, because I love and respect myself.
This comes back to something that I think about a lot, which is that individual action matters. And sometimes I'm going to frame that as like, yeah, you pick up that piece of litter, like that made a difference today. And it does. But what I've learned from you, and I hope folks are taking away from this conversation, is that the individual action toward yourself, whether it's a skincare routine or meditation or what have you, this is also going to create ripples in your community, and it's going to radiate that care. Guess what? Now you do care about that piece of litter that you saw on the sidewalk, and it's something that you never intended. And you starting a skincare brand is bringing other women back to themselves, and that ripple plays out. And it's a net positive in the way that we're putting positive energy out into the world.
It is, absolutely.
And it's going to make us care for each other more. And when we care for each other more, then we care for our communities. And when we care for our communities, then we care for our planet. I still care about you, Pluto. So I want folks to take that away from them, that whatever it is, the thing that you think doesn't matter, if you do it, it really does.
Yeah, it's ripples of love.
Yeah.
It really is. And it starts, whether you're spending time in nature and then you start to feel it for yourself, and then it grows so much within you, which is something I would love to get into, is like capacity, because it's that concept of like, you can't pour from an empty cup or whatever. When I started doing my face care, I spent months. I will tell people I rested for 6 years. Like, I needed to take care of me for a very long time before I could think about caring for someone else. And if it takes you that long, it's okay. Just take the time to start, and start with you, and only pour out or do something when you have the capacity to do so. Yeah, we touched on this earlier, but like, if you approach the climate crisis from the planet's on fire, we can't put that out. It's too large. But if you look at it and what's growing in my garden, and how does that impact me? And how does that impact my neighbors and my community and whatnot? But even something as simple as I grow calendula. Sort of by accident at this point. They're all volunteers because I let so many go to seed. But it's such a simple thing. But like, I take such joy in collecting all of the flowers and drying them and taking the petals off and soaking them in oil. And I only make enough for myself for like a month after all is said and done. That is gold to me. Yeah.
It's gold. It's something that I watched grow, that I looked at every day, that I was so interested in and cared for. And I really feel that slowing down and the connection with nature has informed my business and what I do and how I talk to people and how I treat people. And I used to hate like, oh, stop and smell the roses, but like literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop and smell the roses. It does it. Have we said it enough yet? Like, slowing down is what life is too fast. People's expectations of time frames are messy. I don't know.
Yeah. The next day shipping.
Oh my gosh, we need to like pull back, slow down, do less.
Yeah.
Those are the answers I have for people these days.
when we slow down too, I think we slow, like, again, we all feel like we don't have enough time because we don't. And that's, sort of by design. And then we buy things that are meant to be convenient and they show up on our doorstep. And that's an ecological nightmare, obviously. So when we slow down and we're more content, then we buy less, we waste less, we spend less, and we gain so much more from that.
Yes. Because we're spending time with ourselves and we've realized that we like ourselves. Or if you don't, you have the opportunity to do something about that. Maybe wash your face, maybe go for a walk, maybe hit the gym, maybe call a friend, sit by a lake. But if you don't have the space to even make a decision, then you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Mm-hmm. Find the small moments where you do have that opportunity and spend that capital on yourself.
Totally. Yes. Those micro moments add up. It doesn't have to be a huge 2-hour morning routine. It can be 14 individual slow, long breaths throughout your entire day.
So before we close things out, I just wanted to ask you if there's anything on your heart that you wanted to share with folks, like something that you might be reading or watching or listening to that's impactful for you right now.
Reading or listening or watching the birds. I don't know. I think listening to the birds right now is like the greatest thing of all time. Literally stepping outside of my back deck as often as possible. I saw like a hawk go for like a crow's nest, and then the crows chased the hawk away. It's just mesmerizing. Saw a few rattlesnakes yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, some stuff has been going on with the crows in my neighborhood recently, and I am peering out the window like, what is the tea? Like, I need to know the neighborhood gossip about what's going on with the crows. But so I agree. Like, birds is my thing too. Welcome to middle age, Rebecca.
Yes, happy to be here.
Yeah. So I read something interesting recently. My background is in neuroscience, so I read super cool things like that. But it was about sort of the impact that birdsong has on us emotionally. And the reason that we all love it so much is because birds sing when they feel safe. And so when we hear the birds sing, like it naturally lowers our stress responses as well. So I started listening to birdsong in the winter, in the mornings when I wake up.
Oh, that's so nice.
Like when I'm drinking my coffee, I just pop it into my ears because there's no birds where I live in the winter. Yeah. And it's just an interesting thing to be like, it's so simple and it's again grounded in nature. But do you have the Merlin Bird ID app?
No, I should.
Okay. So you need this in your life. It's called Merlin Bird ID. It's from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and it's like a visual and auditory way to identify birds. So you can say like, I saw this bird, it was this big, it was this color, it was doing this, and it'll give you a list. But you can also just sort of hold it up and it will identify the bird calls.
So cool.
So definitely share that one with your kids because it's just really cool. And it's such an expansive learning opportunity for them as well to get to know the wildlife in their area and just become more connected with it on a deeper level that way.
Yeah, we're all about all the creatures. My kids are creature lovers. And even like what you said about the birds only singing when they feel safe. I love it when I walk through the woods and you can hear like the chipmunk siren. You know, how they kind of chirp when they're letting everyone else know, like, danger, danger. It is so neat to, even if I'm just sitting in my backyard, I can hear the way that the birds will change depending on what's going on in the woods. Maybe there is like a hawk flying overhead or a deer going through or something. I don't know, I just find it really captivating to just witness nature.
Yeah. To witness nature.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Birds sing when they feel safe, and we love each other more when we love ourselves.
Yes.
All right. So to close things out for real, I have one last question that I ask every guest. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. My closing segment on every episode is called One Small Shift, because I do believe that tiny changes that we make in our everyday lives really do ripple out in big ways, especially when they're rooted in care and intention. Mm-hmm. So what's one small shift, either in your routine or your mindset or your work, that's made a meaningful difference for you lately that other folks might find helpful.
Okay, the one shift I'm making right now that feels really big, but is maybe actually small, is canceling different memberships. I'm preparing for summer and it's bonkers, and I need as little on my plate as possible. So any commitment I can step away from, I'm doing it. So I'm canceling different memberships to make more space for me and a bit of slowness and certainly less screen time.
Yeah. No, this is a huge part of climate work, is all you need is less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you. Okay. So thank you so much, Rebecca. I'm so jazzed that we got to have this conversation. So before we go, where can people find you? What's the best way to find you, look at your work, get in touch with you, all that good stuff?
The very best place is my website. And when you go to the website, there's going to be a little pop-up about my email newsletter. My monthly newsletter is the best place to be if you care about natural skincare or slowing down, because every month I have exclusive bundles, special product discounts, and descriptions of different things. I always incorporate a little love note to inspire your month, the way you're thinking or feeling throughout your days. And it's jam-packed full of all the goodness that the Detour Co. really represents. So that is my top tip. And then if you're a social media person, I'm all over the Instagram at thedetourco.muskoka.
Check it out. You might get to see a rattlesnake when you weren't expecting it. That's how I started my morning.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was such a lovely and grounding conversation, and I really appreciate how Rebecca shared not just the what behind her business, but the why. From slowing down and sourcing intentionally to honoring ritual and reconnecting with the natural world, there's so much in this conversation that reminds us that sustainability isn't about perfection or pressure. It's about care for ourselves, our communities, and all of the places we call home. I hope this episode encourages you to reflect on what care looks like in your own life, whether it's in how you shop or how you rest or what you choose to make space for. If something in this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear about it. You can always message me on Instagram. I'm at Sarah Robertson Barnes, or you can reach out through the website, sustainableinthesuburbs.com. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow the show so you don't miss what's coming up. Until next time, start where you are, use what you have, and live a little greener. Thanks for tuning in to Sustainable in the Suburbs. Every small step adds up, and I'm so glad we're doing this together. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow the show, share it with a friend, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me at sustainableinthesuburbs.com or at Sarah Robertson Barnes on all the things. Until next time, start where you are, use what you have, and live a little greener.